As we've heard already today, the state of economic, social and cultural rights is very challenging for too many people in the UK. And the difficulties and hardship that people are experiencing are the result of political choices. So while Just Fair believes that it's vital that the government and decision makers are held to account on their existing international obligations, we also need to go further to protect everyday rights. To meet the challenge of setting out a positive UK-wide approach to these rights, groundwork is needed across the whole of the UK to incorporate the rights into domestic law. There's much to be learnt from the recent developments that we've just heard about in Scotland, and also from experiences in Wales and Northern Ireland. And so in this sense, for some, a UK-wide approach will mean building on work already being done. For others, it may require a shift in thinking around human rights and how they are discussed. Just Fair has identified 5 principles for rights incorporation, which we think can serve as a basis for further discussions to help to imagine and build the practical measures and policies required for incorporation of these important rights. So our 5 principles are highlighted up on the screens on the slide, and I'm going to explain briefly what we mean by each of these. So starting with the first one, rights knowledge. Rights knowledge and education are of core importance in protecting rights. People must know that the rights exist and that they're their rights. Decision makers must know how to address and guarantee the rights in the work that they do. And people responsible for administering the rights, civil servants, for example, need to understand the rights and the role they play in their activities. In addition to knowledge about the rights themselves, it's also important that the structures and processes which relate to them are well understood. So if people experience a failure to protect or respect their rights, they must know what they can do, where they can turn to for help and support, and how to seek changes. So then moving on to our second principle, which is rights frameworks. Economic, social, and cultural rights require frameworks to implement them into domestic law and incorporate them into day-to-day life across the UK. And there are many ways that this can be done, and countries adopt different approaches according to their specific constitutional setup. Ensuring the right frameworks are in place will involve developing many measures to make them work. For instance, this will mean thinking about the duties to be placed on decision makers, what they are and what's required, the legal standards and tests that need to be applied, how proactive rights protection can be inbuilt into systems. There needs to be provision of routes to remedy which are accessible and not overly burdensome, and so that barriers to justice are minimized. There needs to be provision for access to advice and advocacy for all, and so that it's accessible in a timely manner. And there needs to be inbuilt protection for people against victimization, so they don't fear reprisal should they make complaints. And then moving to our third principle, which is rights resourcing. Rights must be substantively and proactively resourced. And this should be subject to ongoing progressive review so that improvements can be proactively made. It shouldn't be necessary to have to wait for things to go wrong or for decision makers to fall short to seek improvements of people's day-to-day lives and rights protections. But when protections and guarantees do fall short, it's important that complaints and monitoring mechanisms are properly resourced so that people can seek redress and changes. And when we talk about resourcing, we should use a broad definition, which includes not only the financial and legal costs, but reflects the emotional burden and costs for those who experience rights violations and undertake the arduous job of raising complaints. Our fourth principle is rights accountability. it shouldn't be necessary to say it, but I think it does need to be said explicitly. There must be accountability in any system of rights protection. Routes to remedy form an integral part of accountability mechanisms. And it's really important that these work well in practice and are effective. They have to exist more than just on paper. Remedies ought to include reparations and step for change. There should be participation by both those who experience rights violations in the remedy to their own complaints, and also by decision makers, so that there's scope for reflection and dialogue on what ought to be and what can be achieved in terms of real and sustainable change. An inherent part of any effective remedy and process of reparation and change is that lessons are learned. The goal must be systemic change and non-repetition of rights violations, in addition to addressing the specific experience complained of by individuals and groups. And then finally, our fifth principle is rights enjoyment. The protection and enjoyment of economic, social, and cultural rights will be a process of learning, evaluation, reflection, and progressive change. It requires ongoing assessment and revision of systems so that there is compliance with international frameworks on the maximum use of resources and rights obligations. The participation of rights holders in the evaluation of the enjoyment of economic, social, and cultural rights will be fundamental to determining how the rights are actually being experienced day to day across the UK. It will also serve to highlight where further work in guaranteeing protections can and should be done. So having identified these 5 principles, what do we do next? Well, what we would like to do is warmly encourage all of your participation in the upcoming year, where we will be hosting discussions throughout 2024 on the 5 principles throughout the UK, so that we can start to build out the practical measures and policies for economic, social, and cultural rights incorporation for us all. And you can see more details on our website, and underneath the captioning, there's a QR code that will take you straight through to details of our Economic, Social and Cultural Rights Network, which we really hope that you'll all join. The QR code is also available on posters dotted about throughout the venue as well. Thank you very much.